All right, welcome to another Q&A. We are in sunny California, not SoCal. It's a little colder than I'd like, but the middle of the day is actually pretty beautiful. So we were hoping to have another video out for you, rebuilding stuff on the Ford Bronco and on the C10. But both of those, I ran into issues with some parts not being there. We wanted to complete those videos for you guys. So while we're in California, we thought that we would do a Q&A, everything you wanted to know about what's going on in DEBOSS Garage. Here we go. Okay, all the projects. F350's running. I did not hook up with Josh Represent yet to tune the transmission, but it's also crappy roads right now. I don't want to get salt on it, so we have no use for the truck for a little bit anyway. So while the roads clean up, I'm working on the C10. C10, we did a pile of welding on it. Like I said, we had about 100 hours of welding to do to it. I probably have about 40 of those done. So all the cab mounts are done. We got the bed sides are all cleaned off from the old beds, so we can weld those onto the new bed. Hydraulics are working for the crane, and we're still continuing with that. So that one will be at Motorama. We're going to unveil it at Motorama, more or less, so it'll be running and driving under its own power into that show. And it will also be accompanied by the Bronco. The Bronco is in paint right now, so I've welded everything in that I need to clearance the Coyote. We got the transmission figured out for now, and the interior is all done. So while we are in California, the Bronco is getting painted. Vince is doing some more welding in the shop, just occasionally on the C10. And I am currently working on the 55. So Andy's here, he's cooking supper. Aaron's behind the camera. Unfortunately, Brad couldn't make it out this time, but the 55. So this is day 3 of working on it. First day with the twins, we'd C-notched the rear and did a couple other small things. And then yesterday we test fitted the stroker and have it sitting where we need it to sit. And today we added the transmission and did a bunch of cutting so that we can fit the Tremec 6-speed in there as well. We got our wheels and tires, so thanks to Calderon's Tires for mounting those for us. And then we had to go grab Andy from the airport yesterday. They were right side by side, so we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm here for another almost a week working on this thing, and then we're ending our trip with going to King of the Hammers. So we're just going to experience that. Johnny and Manuel are huge into filming and stuff and being part of the organization of King of the Hammers. So we kind of want to join them and see what that's all about, and then we'll fly back out of Vegas from there. The Silverado, I honestly have not touched it, and like I told you before, once the C10 is going, that's my next priority. We'll right onto the Silverado to finish that one up as well. We will be driving this to Vegas. We'll take it back to Mike and Costa Mesa when we come back to work on it in April. I'm sure there's some pieces that we're missing and didn't quite work out right. We'll source all those parts between now and April, and then hopefully finish it up, get it moving under its own power, and then take it up to Mike, let him drive it, Costa Mesa, hang out there for a day or 2, then we'll head up LS Fest West in Vegas. So if it's not there, then we ran into a huge snag, and we were currently taking care of that. You see this video in April. So the Kenworth, I have to take a day to take the interior out of that and get that sent out to day cabs, and they're going to use that as a template and make us a nice new interior. We got new seats for it, but I do want to do the cab really nice, replace all the gauges, clean everything up, and that takes a pile of time. So I don't want to schedule that until after Motorama, and then we will redo the gauges, clean up some wiring, and we are currently looking for a low boy for it so we can sandblast that, fix it up. I need a 50-ton at least that has a 25 or 24 foot well and a tri-axle so I can put the Bronco on the back so we can haul the tanker in. And big plans for the Audi. As you guys know, Andy owns Tuesley Auto Wreckers, and I've asked him to source spare parts for the Audi because I know we're going to break stuff. Mainly axles and the rear diff. That's really the only thing that is stock left, and there was nothing in Canada. So hopped on Facebook Marketplace this morning when I woke up and typed in Audi V8, and lo and behold, 16 minutes from here is a 92 Audi V8 being parted out, and we're gonna grab the diff and the axles from that. This summer we'll be ripping around on that a pile. We're gonna experiment with bigger size engines to figure out why our boost is coming in a bit late. And hopefully we can fit a 5.7 in there, and then that will be the engine combo that we're happy with now. Haven't done much with it other since last year because, yeah, wintertime, tracks are closed, and hope to do a couple of challenges with it again, race some people, and really have some fun with that. So the main focus after Motorama, when we are hosting Motorama in March 10th, 11th, and 12th in Toronto, so you can see the C10, the F350, and the Bronco there. So I'm pushing hard on those three until Motorama. We'll get those buttoned up and driving and whatnot. But the main focus this summer is using the F350 to tow the Audi around. So the Shermanator's running and moving. It needs about a week of final touches to finish it up and make it good. I can't really tow it anywhere right now. V&R likes having their trailer. I can't go to the V&R and grab the trailer all the time. So we can do some local stuff and hoping to do some off-road recovery with it. But until we get our low boy kind of situated, I can't take it a whole lot of places. You'll see that probably in Aquino at the Oshawa Tank Museum. It will probably be there for that weekend, and the Shermanator will be there. We'll be crushing some cars and doing some fun stuff with it there. Okay, the caferacer, that's Vince's project, but I'm just kind of guiding him along the way. Not very big views on that, and I understand why. It's they have been done quite a bit, so we're not experimenting in anything new. But just imagine that caferacer in the back of this truck or in the C10. Vince might drive it. It might just be more or less a pit bike for us to take along to shows and kind of putt from here to there. I'm not really interested in getting my motorcycle license and actually driving it, but I do want to build it like an art piece. That will be one build that we won't actually use. The other ones are all functioning, and I want on the road to be able to enjoy it, turn the key and drive it off the road, on the road. So I might get my license in it, but then not drive it. Bikes are, I like 4 wheels and a cage and some protection around me. Oh, Scott's V10. So Scott is sourcing parts to rebuild the V10. Comp Cams is going to help us out with making a new camshaft for that. The camshaft, as you'll find out in an upcoming video, is the weak point on that, where the camshaft's hollow and the lobes are pressed on, so they like to spin. You can't grind them without spinning them. So we're going to get a more aggressive cam made by Comp Cams. They're going to set us up on that, and then it's new guts on the inside and figuring out our blower situation on that. But once the engine's kind of put together, we'll do another engine build on that. And then you'll see it when we have a complete segment. But Scott is working on that in his shop behind the scenes.
Do you wish you used a 7.3 IDI instead of a CAT in the F350?
So I do not wish that I used a IDI 7.3 instead of a CAT. Those trucks are already out there. I have a one of a kind. So if you haven't seen that yet, it's not about making the most sense. Just like Scott's V10, you can make more horse, you can make better numbers with a 5.0 or a 7.3 Godzilla. It's the fact that nobody else in the world has one. So I have one of one. A couple people wanted to buy it already and said name a number, and I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in having something unique that I can have conversations with, that I can take shows to, and at the same time motivate you guys to get out of the comfort zone and tackle something. You need to know your skill set and your tool set and your space and how much time you have to work on it. But I do not regret that 7.2 at all. Even if it blows up or it goes catastrophically wrong, I am so proud of that project. And talking about motivating, it's so cool that guys like Old Drifter online, he's unable to work, so he spends a lot of time behind the computer. He redid the entire truck again on Snow Drifter with a cat in it. You pop the hood, so that's a video game where you just drive cool vehicles, you modify them, and you take them and you drive them through snow and off-road, and also you pull trailers and stuff. So he took the entire cat to the point that he put the King Ranch interior in it, the gauges from the 2010, backup camera, you can pop the hood, you can see the cat on there. He modified the intake to even look like ours, and then he redid it when we redid our intake. And I'm motivating people to do that in a genre that I am not even involved in at all. And that's the purpose of our channel, just to have fun and motivate you guys to do cool stuff like that. If I would have used the 7.3, I would have been, all the comments would have, why didn't you just buy a F350 with a 7.3 in it? So, no.
Why did you go automatic in Juicebox instead of a 5 or 6 speed? Is that too expensive or difficult?
It's not difficult, it's more difficult because a manual, you just stick it in there, the clutch pedal's already in there, and away we go. I can drive manual, Aaron can drive manual, but our wives feel more comfortable driving an automatic. So this is our family vehicle that is our grocery getter, our go to church vehicle, our go out for friends and dinner vehicle. Like, it is probably the most used vehicle, project vehicle that we have. And as much as manuals are fun, this one's getting a manual, and it's not a problem. But no matter how good you shift, the people beside you do the head bob. Every single time when you have a manual, you do the head bob. And you don't realize it because you're driving, but look at your passengers, and you cannot shift smooth enough because it's fun, it's got lots of power, you want to tromp on it, you get the head bob. I'm past that. This is my family vehicle, and I don't want my girl sitting there the whole time doing this, and I want to be able to have my wife drive it comfortably, and Aaron's wife drive it comfortably, and whoever else, and an automatic makes the most sense. Nice and smooth, put your foot in it, drive it, and just focus on driving and enjoying the view rather than worrying about shifting all the time. So you guys say, why so many automatics? Well, the Audi's manual, the transport truck's manual, Silverado's manual, and this one's manual. I don't need any more. So the C10 is the C10, the Bronco,
F350,
and the F350 are automatic. I still have more manuals than I do automatics. The GTO's automatic as well. And that's because I share the car with Hoogie, and Hoogie has rheumatoid arthritis, so he wouldn't be able to shift it. He has trouble driving it as is. That's why we went automatic with that one. So why don't you get more manuals? You're just watching the wrong projects. Each project is very thought out, and the choices are very methodically placed as to what's automatic, what engine, whatever we do to it. And then the tank, of course, is an automatic and a manual. So when people say, "Oh," I know the one comment was funny. He's like, "Oh, real men know how to drive sticks." I'm like, "Oh, like the 13 speed in my transport truck that I use to pull my tank around. I don't need to feel emasculated because I have a couple automatic vehicles."
Who's to blame for the combine fire?
Age and usage. I blame half of it on Kevin for using the combine and wearing the bearings out, and then I blame the new owner for not doing a complete 50,000 rebuild on a $25,000 combine. The problem is every bearing gets use. Every piece of equipment has an expiry date on it, and there's a lot of moving parts on a combine. So when they get to a certain age, you just chase bearings around. Now that one goes, now that one goes, now that one goes. And it can go in it can seem fine because it's packed full of garbage, and then you're driving it, it gets hot, and then it lights the chaff on fire. So what do? Do you replace every single bearing? Or do you just drive it, try to catch these little mishaps? This one got out of hand, the wind was in the wrong way, and up she goes. It's not uncommon.
How's the shop floor doing?
Shop floor's doing okay. It's definitely seeing its wear, and that's because of all the heavy equipment in there. Super nice to clean with that, but now I'm starting to see chips. I think it's 4 years old now, something like that. Time flies. But it's definitely not new, but it's still all there. One piece popped up because the floor leveler underneath didn't adhere properly, so I have to redo that little section, but maybe this summer we'll pressure wash everything nice and clean and just do a little touch-ups here and there. But still happy with it. I'm still way better than straight concrete for sure. Spills are so easy to clean up, and then when you're done everything, just sweep it and it looks really good.
How do you come up with all these build ideas?
I have no idea. So the C10, It started with a viewer saying, hey, I got a Duramax and it seems too complicated for me, so do you want it? I said, yes. And then I'm walking through a scrapyard and the guy pulls me aside and like, hey, I know what you do. Check out his air ride frame. I'm like, yes, that would be a good fit for the Duramax. And then the neighbor comes over and says, hey, I want that Studebaker in your yard. You can have anything that's in my yard to trade. And the Studebaker was too much work, so I thought I'll build the C10 because that's pretty cool. And then walking through the yard at V&R, I found the box sides for it, or the bed sides for it. So that's how that project came together. The F350, we were doing too much Chevy stuff. And I looked at Aaron, it was the right price from Jose there in California. And I said, you know what, we should build this Ford. Let's go back and drive it. And then I thought, you know what, a Bronco would be really cool. The Silverado was my baby, so I'm going to keep that alive. I'm going to keep that around for a long time. And the next project, I don't know what the next project is going to be something completely new again that I don't know anything about. And I'd like to figure it out as I go and take you guys along. So this is just a great opportunity to get together with friends. Our road trips are so much fun. I cannot believe the hospitality. We are here at Dirt Cinema, which is Manuel and Johnny Gardner. Their house, they're not even here. They left us their house. And honestly, we've only met them a couple times. Mike gave us his shop to work in, left us, trusted us with all his tools and that. We're going to see so many people. We had other YouTubers already come here and help work on it. And coming here with Brad and Aaron and Andy, it's just so much fun that it doesn't even matter what happens in the end. Of course, we want it to work and function, and we'll prove it driving at home. But it's the memories that we're making that is the cake or the cherry on top of the cake. Yeah.
Do you prefer diesel or gas projects?
I am 50-50 right now. They both have their perks. The cost is going the wrong way for diesel. I love the feeling of diesel and the noise of diesel, and at the same time I love the sound of the Audi and the GTO and the Coyote. So I'm not really partial. I just I love the challenge of figuring something out and just getting it going. It doesn't matter what fuel it runs on.
What's your favorite engine to work on?
I don't know if I have a particular one. There, as long as there's room to work on it, I'm okay working on whatever. There's lots of room in this, and I enjoy working on this. Cat's fine. The Cummins is fine, but probably still 12-valve Cummins. It's so easy, and I know those inside and out. So,
do you ever rebuild your own engines?
Yeah, so I rebuilt the 5.9 in the Silverado, the 24-valve P pumps. You can check that video out. I still tools that you need to do machining. So Scott at Northtown built the cylinder head for it, but I assembled everything. I built that for myself. Yes, that's the only engine that I built for myself. That's right. I have built lots of engines for customers, but now we're to the point where we hire Scott and point everybody to Scott because he gets the cylinder head work anyway. He might as well do the bottom end too.
What's your favorite project that you own?
All of them. Honestly, I like going in the shop, and doesn't matter what I'm working on. I think it's the coolest thing. I'm happy working on it because I think it's the coolest thing that I'm working on at that time. And while I'm working on it, I'm focused on it. I'm like, man, this is so cool. The F350, the C10, the Silverado. I love them all. This is fun because we're in California. There's no real distractions. We're just working away. No phone call, no time to come in for supper or anything. We're thrashing hard on this, and that's kind of fun. It's a nice fun break because there's no responsibilities for me out here other than just making sure that we're safe and that we're working away.
What build was a total waste of time or money, either yours or customers?
Yeah, that was the Mercedes. The Mercedes, I'm buying it back only because there were so many little issues with it that once we figured out how to cure all those, we're into it too far. That was I shouldn't have turboed it. I should have just done an NA 5.3 or 6.0 in there and just enjoyed it. We were trying to hit power numbers, which at the time were achievable with turbos, but we've come quite a bit away since then again. And projects, like as I'm working on each project, I'm refining my skills. I'm meeting new people who are excellent at what they do that I didn't know before. And there's different tools that we're using that we didn't use before. So by the time I'm done a project, I'm already disappointed, kind of like, oh, I would have done that different, because now there's a different way or a better way to do it, or my skills are better in since we started that project. So it's a difficult thing. But I do regret the Mercedes. That one cost me a lot of money, and but it is what it is. I'll take it back, and I'll probably change some stuff to it. But for now, it's going to go in storage, and yeah, that one I regret.
Any projects that you've abandoned that you want to come back to, given the chance?
No, I haven't abandoned any of them. Like people say, people think because I don't release a video on something in a timely manner that I've abandoned the project. I haven't abandoned any project ever. I've come through. My problem is I go too far. Like same with the C10. Like I could have just put the Duramax in there with a single turbo and plunked it in there, and it would have worked fine. But I go to the extent of making the twin turbo and the dual plenum and all that extra welding and that. And I really enjoy that. And I enjoy building them just as much as I enjoy driving them. But there is no project that I have abandoned. Every chainsaw carving I did, I finished. Oh, my house isn't done yet. I should finish that. Just a few things here and there yet. But that's a big project.
How much Advil does it take to finish a project?
I don't take much medication. It's only the next day if I forget to drink, and I should grab a water bottle now because I need to drink more. But I usually try not to take too. I probably take a dozen Advil in a year, and that's if I bought a bottle, it would still have pills in it by the end of the year.
Will you do a SEMA build?
No. I have no interest in building something and then dragging it that far across the country and then taking it back again. And this is close to SEMA, like geographically, but it's not a SEMA build. It's been done before. SEMA builds are pretty. If somebody wants one of our projects there, they can tow it there and I can stand there for a bit, but I'm not building something specific for SEMA that has nothing. I don't care about the credit or the whatever. My credit is driving the vehicles down the road and enjoying them, not what other people think at a show. But we do Canada's Motorama, and again, Motorama is March 10th, 11th, 12th at the International Centre in Toronto, and the Bronco will likely be SEMA ready because it's in paint, so I got to get it looking good.
What's your favorite machinery to work on?
My favorite machinery to work on is probably just anything agriculture, and I hope it breaks in the fields. I always enjoyed going in the service truck, driving out in the middle of nowhere, just hearing some birds chirping and some whatever, crickets going, trying to get something going, and it's peaceful because it's just me, and it didn't really matter what it was. My favorite machinery, I don't think I have a favorite, no.
Would you do an agricultural vehicle project?
I would do an agricultural vehicle project. We talked about this. I think we were thinking about buying older equipment, like an old skid steer, an old excavator, fixing it up and doing that on the main channel. And that would probably get more views. It's just I did that for a good 15 years of my life, so I'm really enjoying the custom trucks and the cars right now because I never got to do that as a young age. Not that any of that equipment was my own, but I worked on enough equipment to get my fill, and as you guys know, I don't like doing the same thing too many times.
Why won't you do a Jeep, like an LS Wagoneer?
Oh, no, why won't I? I never said I won't. I just said that like the normal Jeeps are stupid. Like I love a Wagoneer, but I won't do a normal Jeep. The Bronco is like our Jeep. You take the top off, whatever. I just never, Jeeps never did anything for me otherwise. But I love the Wagoneers. I'd be up for that. It's just they're pretty pricey and getting hard to come by too. So.
Are you a big Ford guy?
I'm not a big Ford guy. Andy's a big Ford guy. I'm not so like I said before, my Ford videos, 97 to 2012 was just a really bad time for me in Ford with 5.4 3 valves and 2 valves shooting spark plugs at hoods, and then you got the 6.0 and the 6.4 and the like. It's just a lot of garbage that Ford put out for a while that I hated working on. So that was my era that I didn't like. But I like the older stuff, and I think the dent sides are great looking trucks, and cars, we never really got into the cars, but my wife's entire family also worked for GM, and my first vehicle was a GM, so that kind of led to owning GMs for the first 15-20 years of my driving career. So.
Will you do a 6.5 Detroit build?
I have no plans to do a 6.5 Detroit build in the next 2 years.
Will you ever be on Hoonigan?
I will be. I hope to be on Hoonigan at some point. Brian Scotto's a big Audi fan, and then everything's different with Ken gone, so we'll let them sort that out. That's a kind of a mess right now, but I hope to at some point, yes.
How do you start working on a project car?
I start working on a project car one piece at a time. So I try to focus on one thing, whether it's drive line or body or the general plan of stuff. But if you think of the whole plan as a whole, you'll get overwhelmed and you'll hit a rut, because in all reality, I've got 1,000 hours minimum into each one of my projects. So it's daunting to know that there is a pile of work to do yet, but if you focus on one thing at a time, then that's your success. It ticks that box, gets you motivated, and then you can focus on the next one. So sometimes, like on this project, Aaron's like, oh, what about this? I'm like, I haven't even thought about that because that's not important right now, and I can't busy my mind with that because I'm focused on this. Just let me do this, and we'll cross that when we get there. And that really helps.
Would you do a fuel efficient project?
We were just thinking about that. We do, so yes, I will do an MPG. That is a very interesting thing. And I never really thought about that because I don't travel that much, right? I stay home, and then it's my dailies are just driving around town, and then our big events like Power Tour, and that's when we do big driving. But we're thinking maybe we should get build the most fuel efficient little handy pickup truck that you could possibly do, and see how far you can go on a gallon of gas. So at some point, but we're going to finish up what we got right now first.
Will you do a Euro diesel project?
Yes, Euro diesel, probably go on the 95. Oh, that's one project we forgot to talk about. The 95 let us down this week, and the 4060 turned into a bunch of neutrals. So it did what we had to do. We're still... it's at transmission shop right now. We might tackle that, but if I tackle that, then I don't have enough time for this. So that was a little disappointing because we wanted to buy that one just to get us from point A to point B and run around vehicle, and now we're kind of stuck with that. But you'll find out more about that one later. But OM 606 or M57 or something in there would be really cool at some point.
Will you do a Gambler 500 build?
Right now, I'm not thinking about a Gambler 500 build in the next 2 years, but that's not to put off the table. I think it would be super cool. I just, instead of a road trip one year, maybe we can do that. I do like hanging out at home with the family.
Would you put a TDI in a Ranger?
And so there's always discussions on what we should do next, and a TDI is definitely on the radar. We're going to do that, put that in something. I don't think I'd put it in a Ranger. Again, I'm too tall for Rangers and S10s. I don't really fit, so it's not a comfortable drive for me. So we would put it in something else that that's more comfortable and practical for us.
Would you do a diesel electric build?
Yes, I would do a diesel electric build once the technology starts coming out a little more. Hybrid is the best way to go in my opinion.
Why doesn't the family tag along when you do events like Power Tour?
Power Tour is not that much fun when you're traveling with YouTubers, only because we've got obligations to be places and stuff. It's not super casual. and it's extremely hot. Vehicles break, and the families kind of just have to sit there and wait. And we enjoy that, but I don't think that's their most fun time, and I don't think it's Aaron's family either. We take families on occasionally, if not the whole family, but wives at least, to try and incorporate some of our YouTube life into our normal life, but we won't ever document that because there's no need for them to be on the channel. It's just a decision that we made that their life is going to stay completely private.
What's your advice for a first-time power tour?
First-time power tour? Make some friends. Hop on Instagram and get to know as many people as you can before you go. Use your vehicles as the medium between you guys to get on the same page. Try to travel with, even if you're complete strangers, just hey, you know what, I'm going to be on power tour and maybe we can do this stint together. Because it becomes a pile more fun. Going out for dinner and hanging out, whatever. When you break down, somebody can go run. Oh, you throw a fan belt and you don't have this tool. Well, somebody can run and grab one for you, and it makes it a lot more fun. So definitely find somebody to drive with. And I recommend a complete stranger. Just chat with them online for a little bit. Don't be the creepy one, and try not to find a creepy one, but it's a great place to meet new friends and hang out. I highly recommend that.
How many hours in a day do you work? Do you work weekends and holidays?
Yes, quite a bit. So on average, I would say we work between 60 and 90 hours a week. It is a lot, but we're still managing family time because we do work at home, both Aaron and I. So I do usually work Saturdays and Sundays, and if I'm not working on my stuff, I'm cutting the grass, or cleaning the driveway, and replacing shingles, and fixing what needs to be fixed, and so there's lots of work to be done. I usually don't watch much TV, a little bit of football, but I have to record it so I can fast forward all the crap, the garbage commercials and whatever. So yeah, it is a lot of work. You guys don't understand how much work goes into the projects and the editing, and then emails and phone calls and meetings. It's not all rainbows and puppies.
Is filming and making content more stressful than just running a shop?
No. Filming and making content is absolutely not stressful. Running a shop is stressful because you're accountable for what you do. I am my own customer, so if it doesn't work, I have nobody to blame but myself. I know how to treat stuff after I drive it, and you don't just peg it and not pay attention to gauges and then blame somebody for not building it right or whatever. Because everything we do is custom, it's gonna break, it's gonna leak, it's gonna shake, it's not gonna have the same reliability as a brand new vehicle with a 100,000 mile warranty, whatever. So if it breaks, we make content on that, and I still get paid. Whereas if it breaks for a customer, you have to fix it on your own dime, and everybody's unhappy. So switching to YouTube was a great decision.
How long did it take to become full-time on YouTube?
It took Aaron and I 6 or 7 years to become full-time on YouTube.
How do you stay motivated when others around you are not?
I stay motivated by getting rid of the unmotivated people. It's if somebody comes to the shop and they're just hanging around not doing anything, I think I make them nervous because I keep working. And those people, we don't really get along. If you ask anybody that we've worked with, any YouTubers that swung by, or any like Mike Burrows and that, when we worked in a shop, I am full tilt from the minute I wake up till an hour before I go to bed. So I'm not like crazy, and my mental state is fine. I just, like, if I'm walking somewhere, you'll see me at like a very brisk walk, because what's the point in going slow? Like, I need to get to where I'm going, and if people aren't motivated and they slow me down, then I just don't invite them over anymore, and I think I honestly make them uncomfortable because I am pretty high energy. So
do you miss working on equipment since you started DGHD?
No, I don't. I get to choose what I work on every day. If I missed it, I would do it. It's basically I do what YouTube allows me to build and work on whatever I want. There are no real obligations. So if I missed it, I would just do it. I would offer to work on people's equipment and film it on DGHD. But my kicks right now, and it could change, is working on road vehicles and the cab over and the tank and all that. That's where I get my kicks right now. So
How do you manage so many projects? Do you ever feel burned out?
nope, absolutely not. I have a spot for each one of the projects where all the parts are. So I'm not looking for parts. There's no stress. Nothing has to be done by a certain amount of time. Uh, Relatively speaking. So I work on something that a lot of it is we have obligations for sponsors. So you see me jump around too, just because we were obligated to make a video, and we wouldn't be able to do YouTube without our awesome sponsors. So big companies like Shell and Pennzoil and Holly and Toyo, we're set to do so much content for them per year, and that's part of YouTube. So that's partly why we make specific videos at some time. If it seems kind of out of order, it's probably because of something like that. But I'm not feeling burnt out at all. Life is good. Watching a lot of YouTube videos on other channels, and the ones that are feeling burnt out, try to learn from it. Try not to fall into the same mistakes. But we would probably make more money if we catered to what our audience specifically wants. But that leads to, I think, people who make content not being happy with their job. For us, it's not about the money. We're paying our bills. We're not flowing in the money. We're doing okay, but I think we could do better if we did specific videos for the audience, but that wouldn't make me happy. So I'm doing what makes me happy, and you can watch if you want. You don't have to, and we'll leave it at that. Doesn't bother me what other people think about me, and that leads to a very freeing and stress-free life. We'll keep doing it until the bills stop being able to get paid, but for now, life is good.
Will you do a drag and drive event?
Yeah, so we bought the K car to do a drag and drive event. We're not starting that until all the other vehicles are done. So basically, we can drive it around as is. Anything older than 25 years in Ontario is like $150 to $200 a year on insurance, compared to that monthly on a newer vehicle. So we can drive the K car around. I need to clean the fuel tank in that, because once in a while the filter clogs. So other than that, she's good to go. But we will be putting a Hemi in the back seat of that thing, leaving the 2.6 in the front, making it a dual engine. So we'll actually be legal to do a drag and drive event, because we can switch. You got to figure out how to disconnect the transmission at the back and in the front. And then we can switch fuel tanks to drive on the road, front wheel drive, and then we'll do the drag race rear wheel drive with a Hemi in the back. Should be fun.
Will you visit Al and Woody in Australia?
Yes, I will visit Alan and Woody in Australia. We'd like to go to Australia. We'd like to travel more than just in the North America, and we'll make plans for that. But that does get really expensive, and there's no point going to Australia unless you go there for a good amount of time, because the traveling sucks. So that's family stuff again. I don't like being away from family too long. So either they come along and it's super expensive, or we don't go.
Will you go back to Africa and film a wreck, revive, and road trip series?
I've been wanting to go back to Africa to do that specific thing since we started YouTube, but we have contacts in Africa. We specifically went to Burkina Faso, which is kind of landlocked by Ghana and kind of northeast there, but it's a lot of political unrest there right now. So the issue is we can't go there, because we run the risk of being kidnapped and ransoms and none of that fun stuff. So that really sucks, because I was hoping to take you guys along the ride for that. When we do something like that, I can call ahead and say, hey, what's involved, licensing and insurance, and can we drive it, and blah, like all of that can be taken care of, to the point that we can actually find a vehicle. For us to go to a place where we don't know anybody or know anything, and you don't want to get caught doing something illegal, driving without insurance or the wrong paperwork, or driving a vehicle from one country to another country in Africa, all of that changes again. Right now we don't have the time to figure out all the logistics with that. Hopefully we'll be able to hire somebody who does more admin work who can figure that out. But I need like a Top Gear crew behind me. You don't understand that Top Gear had like 30 people, 40 people behind the camera, and another 100 people working in an office taking care of all this stuff. It's just Aaron and me. We can only do so much. So hopefully someday.
Why do you live in Canada, and when will you move to the USA?
I live in Canada because it's a great country. It's like, oh, one bad leader and all of a sudden it's a horrible country and you got to leave. If that was true to the United States, then it would be empty. You put up with it because it's a great country, and we'll get through tough times. We have 4 seasons. We live stress-free. We have very little crime. Our education system is excellent. On top of that, my entire family's there. I love the 4 seasons: spring, winter, summer, and fall. Winter's awesome with the kids for sledding and snowmobiling and skating and having fires beside the flooded bush where it's all trees. I love the summers. I love the clear lakes that we get to swim in, and I have no desire to leave Canada. If you're an American and you ask this question and you have you've visited Canada and you've experienced the more negative thing, then I'm truly sorry for that. But people generally, I generally feel that the people asking that don't have a passport. So get out your country and no matter where you live, get out and experience other cultures. Because just because you're comfortable in your own culture doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with another culture. I'm proud to be Canadian, and I will continue to live in Canada for the absolute foreseeable future. Again, our car scene is not what it is in the States, which is why we travel to the States. We get a little bit of that, but that's okay. We have other things that make up for that, and we'd be more successful maybe if we were in the States because we could get parts and stuff easier. Doesn't matter. I'm still building cars and making it happen, so it's okay for me.
When will you do another meet and greet?
First meet and greet will be in March 10th, 11th, which is only a couple months away at Motorama at the International Center in Toronto. So you can come see us there. We'll do another meet and greet this summer at V&R. We'll just have like a nonchalant car show thing, kind of swing by the yard and flip a couple burgers and hang out there. That's in the works. And then possibly at a Princess Auto in the fall as well. We can have a car show and then give away some prizes and stuff there too. So we're working on that as well.
Do you ever go back to Friesland?
So I will go back to Friesland. It's been a while since I've been, but and that's mainly because we've had started a young family. So my girls are still pretty young. We had a really nice vacation down in Dominican, and we're back again now, obviously. But that was the perfect vacation for their age then. They need to be a little bit older so we can take them along so they can remember the vacation and take something out of it when we go back home again. I think right now it wouldn't be a great holiday for them because the travel time and all that. A couple more years and we'll head back.
How old were you when you immigrated?
So I was born in Canada. We moved to Holland when I was 1, and then we moved back when I was 6.
What's your worst injury? Well, they said top 5, but...
So, okay, my top 5 injuries, I've had some very dangerous jobs. You got to keep that in mind. So when you're around fire, you're going to get burned. That being said, my top 5 injuries was I broke my leg tobogganing when I was 16 going down a hill. So I have an 8-inch plate in my leg there. I was walking over to the fridge and grabbed some ice cream, and we have a bottom mount freezer, and I closed the door on my ankle and I rolled it so severely that was part of one of 3 bad instances on my ankle where my ankle now is pretty big and has arthritis. So I did a lot of physiotherapy on it. It's getting much better, a lot more movement, but it still hurts quite a bit. I've had 3 hernias operations, so all trying. One was pushing a lawnmower out of a ditch. One was pulling a cow off of the stall because it was lame. We had to roll it over. And one was just the first one broke. They didn't do a very good job. I've had probably half a dozen different stitches, and one of them I stepped on a steel band when I was working in construction, and it flipped up and it caught me right up above the boot, and it cut, and it was like, I was bleeding. I know I need stitches, so I wrapped it up. I had coffee with the guys. I got them going, and then I went to the hospital, and they're like, that was very close to cutting a tendon. You could have seriously been gone. So those are probably top 5. Only a couple of them had to do with work, though. It's because your guard is off, and then you relax, and you get hurt at home. It was like, it's always, every time we hung roof steel, it's everybody's on guard all day until the last sheet, and then everybody stands up like, oh, we're done. Oh, and then almost fall. It's like when your guard is off, that's when you get hurt.
What happened to wearing gloves?
I do still wear gloves as much as I can when I'm using chemicals, but I don't wear it when I'm just handling steel and whatever else. I see people wearing rubber gloves when they're opening brand new packages and they're doing stuff that doesn't need to wear gloves, and I think that's almost a status thing. I'm still wearing gloves, but I also sweat profusely, so as ungross as that is, if I wear rubber gloves, my skin gets white and wrinkly and sweaty and wet in probably about 5 minutes. That's all I can handle. So I'm switching gloves every 5 minutes, and that just takes too much of my time. So using different mechanics glove is fine, but I'm not wearing them probably as much as I should, but that doesn't mean that I'm not wearing gloves.
Will you ever hot rod a PowerStroke?
No, I will not hot rod a PowerStroke.
What's your dream build?
My dream build is the one that I'm working on right now. I'm content and absolutely happy and not thinking about starting something else because I'm excited about finishing what I got. My dream build is a 7.2 Caterpillar and a F350, Duramax and a tow truck on air ride, and a 24 valve P pump Cummins in a Silverado, and a LS Stroker in a 55 Apache.
What do you do for fun outside of work?
Not a whole lot. I hang out with friends. We have trips with our friends that we go camping with. We have our quadding trip once a year where we go up north. But most of my time is spent with my family, hanging out with the girls, play a lot of board games with my daughters and family, and church. And other than that, I don't have any, I'm not in a bowling league, and I don't play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff on the side, and I don't play video games. So
Where are the best places in Canada for performance parts?
I don't know. Call up JRP. They can get you what you want. It just costs more. It's like most performance parts are make it yourself or get it from the States. Or like everything gets made in California and Detroit and Tennessee.
Can you switch back from synthetic oil?
That I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think it's going to hurt anything, but I've always said that sticking with your oil that you have is better than switching oils, as there's additives and stuff in different oils that might not like additives in different oils, but I guess there's less additives in non-synthetic oil, so I think whatever works best for the least amount of burning and best mileage.
How did you get started with the service truck?
So I got started with my service truck because I was building a house and I needed some fill for the house. So I asked an old excavating company owner that I used to work for at my old shop if he had any fill, and because he came to our church for a baptism. And then when 2 weeks later he called and said, hey, I forgot that you're a mechanic and you're not working for my old boss anymore. Can you work for me? I got this emergency, this thing is broken. So yeah, so I fixed it. And then he called again and again and again, and so I thought, you know what, I'll buy a service truck. So I ended up buying a van, and that didn't work out. That was a piece of garbage, so I gave that one back to a dealer. And then saw this one online in 2009, and we bought that out of Palm Springs. And that was my first road trip in 2009. My brother and I flew down to, did we fly to Vegas? We did fly to Vegas. And then we rented a car and went to Palm Springs, grabbed it back, and drove it all the way home. In 1991 International 4900 with an IMT 14-foot box, 25-foot crane on it, welder, everything on it, compressor. That was a beautiful truck. I bought it for $7,200 because they kind of messed up on the Iron Planet. Said it was broken on the ad, but it was not. And then drove it home, used it for 3 or 4 years, made money every single service trip, and then sold it for $20,000. That was a great buy.
How do you find customers as a self-employed tech?
Word of mouth is the best thing that you can do. And if you're a self-employed tech, service your equipment, service it for somebody, and then call them back 2 days later and ask them how it's working. And most times hopefully you'll get a good answer. Once in a while, you'll hear something, you know what, this is not a big deal, but it's doing this. And I wasn't going to call you, but go back and fix it. And they will share that experience more than if you just fix it. And they will tell their friends, and word of mouth in a small community is the best way to get business. More than advertising, more than anything else.
What's your opinion on DEF?
DEF? I don't have enough experience or engineering background to give an opinion on DEF. I'd like to see the emissions coming out and what all happens with it, but honestly, I can't give an answer to that.
Can a K1500 tow more weight if I swap out the 305 for a diesel?
Yes, and swap out your transmission too. Diesel has more torque as long as you don't overload the frame. You got to be careful with that. Swapping over a half ton is never really a good idea. Your brakes are smaller, your suspension is smaller, your ball joints, whatever, are not as big as a 3/4 ton. If you're gonna tow, I would still stick with a decent truck. Sell that truck, go down south, buy a nice clean 3/4 ton older. They're like $5 to $7 grand here.
How did you learn as much as you know?
I'm not half as smart as you think I am. I make it up as I go. And if I don't know what I'm doing, I just Google on the internet, because everything you possibly need to know is on the internet. So I think I do have a gift to be able to see the finished product. I have an idea in my head, and I really don't stray from that. Just like the Bronco, I want a Coyote with a Bronco. It takes 3 years to do it, but because of the planning stages and just circumstances to allow it. But I know that this is the color I want, this is the stance I want, this is the engine I want, this is the transmission I want, and this is the interior that I want. I don't change my mind halfway through. I'm able to see that when I put something together that it affects something else. So you can't just weld the engine mounts in because the engine's sitting where you want, because you need the transmission to be pointing at the right spot too. And if you weld the transmission and the angle's wrong, well, now it tips the engine forward. Now the alternator's going to hit the steering. So you do make mistakes along the way, and you figure that out. But you do it enough times, you can try and see 3 steps later to try and avoid a problem that you might be causing currently. So that if that makes any sense.
What's your favorite car brand?
My favorite car brand for like style, I would say Audi. They're comfortable, and I like the looks of the cars, and I like the engineering that goes involved with that. It's a nice luxury brand. For trucks, I would say either one of the big 3. They all have their pros and their cons, and I don't think one is really excessively better than the other. Looks are subjective, so that's up to you. For fast cars, I would say like a muscle car, I would say Mustang, Challenger, then Camaro in that order. For economy car, I would say I drove a couple Toyotas as rental cars and really happy with them. And as for big equipment, I don't know. They all have their issues. But the best one of all of them is if you take like different parts from all 5 different brands and you put them together and you build your own. That is the best brand. So build your own vehicle.
What's the first engine you ever rebuilt?
First engine that I rebuilt would have been a Massey something or other. I don't know exactly, probably 135 or 165, something like that in the shop that I worked at. But it would have been an agricultural tractor engine.
How do you stay organized?
I keep all my parts in a certain spot, and I'm getting better in the shop. I'm getting better, kind of caught up that everything has a spot now. I've got rid of a lot of garbage and junk that I thought was important but was not. It's just cluttering your headspace. So working in a clean environment cleans your headspace, and the biggest thing is to know when to quit. When you're tired the night before, just stop, because I can only physically do like 10 to 12 hours a day, and then anything after that I have to redo the next day. And when I'm too tired the next day, I can't do anything. So good sleep, stay hydrated, and clean shop space.
What's the biggest challenge when deciding how to grow DEBOSS Garage and DGHD?
I don't know what the biggest challenge in growing is. I think it's... I'm not sure. We're surviving, and that's okay. We don't need to grow exponentially. We're at a nice size where we can still go out for dinner and not get harassed, and we can still. I'm getting recognized in plenty of places, but it's all very polite and that. I don't know if we need to get crazy big, and I don't know if I want to go crazy big. I'm pretty happy right now where we're at. So I also don't look at numbers. You got to remember that a guy with 10,000 subs wants to be the guy with 50,000 subs, and 50 wants 200, and 200 wants a million, and so on. 10 million subs wants the guy to be with 20 million subs. Be happy with where you're at, and you don't have to worry about growing and all that. We're growing enough that we're getting attention from big companies, and I'm super humbled that a multi-billion-dollar oil company is interested in a little YouTube channel down in Canada. So yeah, it's all good.
How do you see the future of diesel with new emissions regulating it? Are we doomed?
No, diesel will be around for a long time. I think if we can get to carbon neutral fuels, I think that's really the answer, because we are so dependent on diesel, we will not be able to replace that with anything. There's a bunch of airheaded, eco-friendly politicians that think that magically they can fix this, but in the real world, you can't. Like, I found out in California that they're banning the sale of gas generators. Now, I don't know about you, but when you don't just randomly fire up your gas generator to work when you've got running electricity in the house. You use a gas generator when there is no electricity and the power's out, and you need to pump the water out of your basement, or you need to turn your furnace on, or fire up whatever. But these are the decisions being made by people who are not in touch with the real world at all. And in the real world, we are not in a spot. The battery density, I think, is about as good as it's going to get, that it will not be able to compete with diesel. And proof of that is that it has been now 2 or 3 months, and we still don't have any. I still haven't seen the actual weight of the Tesla truck, or an actual real world going over the scale, showing the weight, and driving 500 miles, because I still don't think we're there, and we won't be for the next little bit. So if I was a diesel tech or young going out in the trade, I 100% would still make the diesel the sacrifice to get my diesel license, because it will be here for at least 2 more decades.
Are we nearing peak performance of factory ICE engines?
I think so. I was thinking that even drag racing and all the extra little things, I think we're almost there, that there isn't a whole lot more that we can squeeze out of it. NASCAR and hot rodding isn't what it used to be. Tweaking this little thing and giving that the little edge and getting more air in it, and all of a sudden we came out with a Hemi cylinder head, and we could blow everybody else out of the water. I think we're almost there, but I think AI will also help that as well. If we actually let AI out and say what is the most efficient way to do something, I think we're almost there. Those 2 million sloppy tunes, they can take the best off of each one. But I think we're almost there, yes.
Can you supercharge a 6-cylinder diesel engine like a 3406 or big cam Cummins?
Yeah, I don't see why not. You just need to, it's kind of a weird, yeah, side mounted. It's totally possible. Yep.
Thoughts on John Deere giving back right to repair?
Yeah, finally. So put your foot down and fighting for what you believe in, and tell the bigwigs where to go. It's our equipment. We bought it. We're paying for it. It's mine, not yours.
Thoughts on hydrogen-powered vehicles?
Yes, hydrogen. I think you know what. I think the way to go is hydrogen-powered generating stations. Start the infrastructure in the city for electric cars. Power some generators with hydrogen. You don't have to worry about the time bombs or the massive compressed gases driving around. And nice clean way to run electricity in the city, and then slowly bring the infrastructure out into the country eventually. But hydrogen is a much, I think, one, it keeps people employed more. It's still a lot of moving parts inside an engine, so it still helps employ people. And I wish they would have put more R&D into that 10, 15, 20 years ago. I'm excited to see what Cummins is going to come out with.
Is it worth swapping an older transmission for a newer one?
Yeah, it has the perks as long as you make it shift properly and you got the right communications, then absolutely.
What's your top 3 favorite books?
My top 3 favorite books. So I did read lots of self-help books. I can't think of the authors. I'm so horrible with names right now. But a couple marriage books that were really good. And there was also, but I do enjoy just grabbing a book that's just a spy thriller or whatever, just to get my mind off stuff. I haven't read, up till a few years ago, I didn't read books for about 20 years. But now I'm starting to read again on planes and wherever else. So, yeah, but mostly just entertainment. I should read self-help books, but I started reading a couple that was one of the sharks, and the way that he was talking about things inside the book. I know that he didn't write it. It was a gift, and I was on Dragon's Den. I know that it's all a load of crap. So what he was saying in the book was a load of crap, and then I can't believe anything he says anymore. So I don't know. Yeah, spy thrillers. You know it's fake. You know it's all baloney, and it's just entertaining. So, but I am a very fast reader. Yeah.
Would you rather take Greta Thunberg, Greta, Greta or Justin Trudeau for dinner? Which one?
See, I think Greta, it was just a pawn for bigger people. Talking to Greta does absolutely nothing. She's not this smart kid. She was just used by big business to get what they wanted, and it went viral for a little bit, but she has nothing to contribute. She has no education. She has no idea what she's talking about. So sitting down with her is just like talking to I don't know, I don't want to put anybody else down, but talking to some of the weirdos that are coming out of the woodworks now, it's just you have no idea what you're talking about. Trudeau, I'd love to sit down with him and ask him some serious questions. It would be very uncomfortable for him, I can guarantee you that. So I would have to say Trudeau. I would love, see, I don't think making Greta cry would give me any satisfaction whatsoever, but to make Justin cry, that would be fantastic. And I think I could do it. If somebody wants to set up a meeting with a one-on-one business dinner with nobody else in the room, I would very thoroughly enjoy that. So anyway, that's it for the questions. We are still working on this for a while. We're back home again next week at some point. We'll continue editing the videos and working away. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for following along. Definitely leave the comments down below. Generally, answer the questions down below live as the video is going. Like, so this is pre-recorded, but then I'm in the comment section writing. I don't know if I have time for that. Depends on the weather. If it's raining, we might do that, but otherwise I'll probably be working on this. We only have so much time. So this was a nice break. Thank you guys for watching, and stick around. It's gonna be a lot of fun this year. A lot of stuff probably gonna break, and a lot of more fixing than it is gonna be breaking. So thanks again, guys, and remember, get out there and work on it, because if you're not gonna do it, nobody else is gonna do it. It's just gonna sit there. It's gonna get filthy. Here we go.